Says, faced with a complex and uncertain landscape, the ECB remains firmly committed to its primary mandate of maintaining price stability.
De Guindos says incoming data suggests modest growth in the first half and
ECB's
first
Windows
quarter
also says incoming data
2025.
suggests modest growth
Risks have
in the first
intensified
quarter of
amid
2025.
exceptional uncertainty.
Risks
Looking
have
ahead, inflation
intensified
is
amid
expected to hover
exceptional
around our
uncertainty.
target.
Looking ahead, inflation is expected to hover around our target. So that's the Windows saying, looking ahead, inflation is expected to hover around our target.
De Guindos says meeting by meeting approach to setting the appropriate monetary policy stance.
Hello.
De Guindos says the ECB is not pre-committed to a particular rate path.
De Guindos says ECB supports efforts to simplify regulatory framework.
Guys, I'm just going to put it on pause, wait for more people to join, and I'll be back in a second.
Windows says ECB supports efforts to simplify regulatory framework.
UK proposes statement on deeper cooperation
UK
with the
proposes
EU,
a statement on
including
deeper
joint commitments to
cooperation with
Ukraine's
the EU,
territorial
including joint
integrity,
commitment to
according to a
Ukraine's
draft
territorial
document.
integrity, according to a draft
De Guindos
document
says
seen by
sharp
Reuters.
adjustments in markets could become disorderly. UK proposes statement on deeper cooperation with the EU, including joint commitments to Ukraine's
De Guindos says sharp adjustments in markets could become disorderly.
Also, UK draft of joint statement with the EU says both sides will work together to mitigate the impact of fluctuations in the global economic order.
UK draft of joint statement says both sides will work together
Aha!
to mitigate the
I've still got
impact
the
of
mic not working.
fluctuations in the global economic
Can everyone hear me?
order.
How's that? Alright, I'm assuming you can hear me now. I've not seen anything. No one's complaining. Alright, so let's quickly go over today's prep. So let's go over like some of the things that happened overnight. Let's have a look at what happened last week. And let's see what we can expect for this this session going forward. But more importantly, today's Monday information gathering day, and we want to be looking at clues that we can carry forward for a good trading week. And what happened last week? So last week, Monday, we basically had this big liquidation, continuation down, and then we looked below that prior low. We failed at 51.27 after we started hearing some comments from Besson and other industry leaders saying that these tariffs were unsustainable. And what happened after that was Trump then followed in and said that they're working hard to get these tariffs down, and then we kind of just carried on this progression to the upside. Now, where do we get this progression to the upside? Where did it hold? Was this really, really important? Let me just, this is a weekly profile with a daily, but we've basically trended up into this trend line, but more importantly, this is the 50% area from the all-time highs to the tariff-induced lows down there. So these are nice little fibs. I like to look at these little these fibs. They're up all time, and they kind of coincide with some of my other higher time frame tools that I use, like the moving averages, and you can see that basically Friday we kind of got stuck into this 50 area. We dipped below it, but then we found buyers and we've kind of carried on higher. So I'm just going to focus now on the profiles. This one's a little bit messy. So that was our weekly profile. So weekly profiles, we kind of had this outside week, and then we closed right on the extreme of Friday, and you can see that here. So this is a little bit messy. Let me just change this one to a profile without all my levels. So basically we had this Thursday huge reversal, traversed the entire prior range, took out the highs, and we were really keen to see whether or not we could hold those singles. The trade we took on Friday was this look below fail to the upside, and that worked quite well. But more importantly, what we can see here is basically we've got this multi-distribution day to the upside. Multi-distribution being because it's got three distributions defined by these singles, and then we dip down into the singles, and then we basically look below. Buyers were exactly where we wanted them to see them, and then we kind of stepped up higher. But we closed at that area I was just talking about on this chart here, that 50% area, around 55.50, nice round number, half century. And the question we're asking ourselves today, if you have a look at the prep, which I'm going to bring in now, is whether or not we can continue higher, or are we going to test back lower. So this is critical, and I'm looking for clues. The first clue that we had overnight was basically we had an open with a small gap to the downside from the settlement, and then it continued down, but we found buyers. Please go through this prep. I'm not going to go through it word for word, guys. I expect you guys to have already read this because it's been on there for a few hours. So please have a look at it, and then we'll quickly just run through what we're going to be expecting. And the key thing that I'm expecting is, we one time framing higher, that's unbroken, and we want to see basically buyers hold. So given it was a nice, continuation, we want to see buyers show strength at least around Friday's 50% mark, which is exactly that half back there, which is where we found an overnight low. We found buyers there, and if you have a look at the that half back low from Friday, you can see that the buyer there is quite resolute. It's bouncing off into there, and oh, sorry, not that one. It's this one here, sorry. So bouncing off into that one, 1, 2, 3, and basically we've kind of stepped up high. Now we're trading above the full session VWAP, but you can see that buyers are really holding that midpoint as well. Okay, so that's it's really nice and clean, almost to the tick. And when it's nice to the tick, Jim Dalton always talks about the fact that it's very mechanical, and that shows a weakness from sellers and a willingness of buyers to step in again and retake control after rotation to the downside. So basically overnight what we've been seeing is we had this kind of almost this, let me just open this up. Okay, we had this little drop from the settlement, and then we had this immediate drop down to that halfway point, found buyers, very poor, that's not a very nice low, but that is also a sign of absorption. A lot of people look at this and go, do you know what, that's a very weak low, it's gonna fail, but it's also a sign of weakness from the sellers. They were unable to break that low. So in lower volume environments, that can be an indicator that this has just not got the legs for lower. People are trapped, and all that's happening is we're just getting some small liquidations lower, and a short time frame, but then it's stepping back higher as the buyers remain in control of this auction. So these are the main things, and if you have a look from my prep, the one thing that I'm really looking for is to give me a deciding factor and clue going into the week is whether or not we hold that Friday settlement around 55.48. 55.48, there it is there. You see that there was the open on Sunday. We reopened and we just went straight down low. If we can hold above that, then I'm looking for this continuation, take out that spike high at 62, and then we can continue this higher. And where I'll be looking for is this gap to be partially filled or filled. The gap is going all the way back to the 2nd of April, where we've had this huge liquidation. Now remember, your monthly open, it's around about 56.39, so we could see this attempt to push all the way back up into 56.39. See if we can retake end the month with a positive tone. We've only got today and tomorrow to do it, but it's not impossible in this environment, given the fact that we're we've got a lot of news flying around. And I also highlighted some of those news themes that are running in my prep for you guys to have a look at. Okay, I think that's pretty much all I want to say. The key thing I'm looking for on this open is I'm looking for clues whether or not we can break and hold the overnight high, break and hold the overnight low, or failure at the overnight high and overnight low. That's it, pretty much it. Really laid back. Today's Monday, it's information gathering. The chart that I'll be looking for to take trades off on and around are the levels that are indicated from my weekly levels and monthly levels. It's the beginning of the week, so it's just take it easy and look for clues, and don't hesitate if you do see what you want to see, and just take the trade and hope for the best. But my kind of prognosis going forward is basically if we can hold 55s, 55.50s, Friday's settlement, we got progression to the upside. If we don't, we could end up with a look back down, and the targets will be, as indicated in my prep, back down into the prior week's VWAP if we can get through this 55, 97 and 75. Okay, get through 75, and then we're in through this cave that I'm just kind of highlighting here with my mouse. You can see that's the peak. There's the bottom of the peak, and if we can get back through there, we'll probably go and target that weekly VWAP. And then from then on, it's just a case of putting the pieces together and making decisions on the fly. But possible targets, high time frame targets. So the value area low of last week's, I like that area 5300, and then amazingly, we could even take out the month's high in the next 2 days. It's only a couple of hundred ticks now, but that is just one comment from Trump away. It is possible, and definitely is possible for the week. 200 points worth of range is not a lot in the S&P at the moment. It is definitely possible, even within a single session. All right, I'll leave you with that. Have a look at my prep. Any questions, let me know. I need to get back to getting ready for this market to open, but remain open to all ideas, and always remember where you're going to be wrong. All right, bye.